This week on Front End Fire, VoidZero is having a big week, Netlify is joining the app builder game, and Node is changing up their release schedule. It's Front End Fire. Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Front End Fire, episode 137, time flies. My name is TJ Van Tol. I have Paige Niedringhouse with me.
Hey everybody.
And from the road, I have Jack Harrington.
Hey, happy to be here.
And we've got a bunch of stuff. We have some tweets to talk about. We've got some drama. We've got some new releases. There's lots of cool stuff. So why don't we get into it?
Yes.
All right, Paige, do you want to kick us off with some VoidZero Vite updates?
Yeah, so this is probably the third or maybe the fourth time that we've talked about VoidZero in a row on this podcast. They just cannot be stopped. But the news for today or this week is that Vite 8 is officially out in production and ready for use. Yeah, so we all love Vite. Everybody loves Vite. Vercel and Next.js are the only ones who don't love Vite at this point in the JavaScript world. But Vite 8 is out, and it ships with rolldown, which is one of the big things that they've been working towards since VoidZero was formed, and rollup and ES build were the two main things that powered the whole Vite bundling toolchain. So rolldown is out, and it ships as a single unified Rust-based bundler because everything in JavaScript must be written in Rust at this point. It is a requirement, but it is 10 to 30 times faster for builds. It has full plugin compatibility, so any plugin that you used with rollup works with rolldown as well. And they have some new things, like they have launched a registry.vite.dev site, so you can search for plugins for Vite, for rolldown, and for rollup in one unified place, which is pretty sweet. They have a new integrated dev tools option. So as you're debugging and figuring out exactly what your applications are doing, you have a new dev tools window to kind of inspect and understand. And they have some new things like built-in TS config path support and WASM SSR support for people who are in the WASM world. And then kind of a nice to have, but it's been a kind of a recurring feature that's being built more and more, especially with the use of agents, is browser console forwarding. So you can see in your dev terminal all the errors, all the stuff from the front end, so that your agent, Claude or whoever, Codex, can more easily debug for you.
Or you, if you want to actually go old school.
If you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to paste it in somewhere and search the internet and have Gemini figure it out, you could do that too.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, so I did go back and watch Evan Yu's keynote because we talked about it a little bit last week, and the stuff on Void, which is their new like hosted Cloudflare thing. That's the bit where Jack was talking about it was a little rough, and I can confirm it definitely was. It felt a little unscripted and all over the place. But the Vite Plus stuff about what they're working on there all seems really kind of cool. And, that'll be all now open source and MIT licensed. So, well, we have that to think about as well. And they're firing on all cylinders. And this is just yet another improvement that most of the JavaScript ecosystem is just going to get by bumping up some version numbers, essentially.
Yeah, their release cadence on all the stuff that they're working on, as well as all the new initiatives that they seem to be taking on, is just amazing. Like, the velocity of this team is incredible.
One thing about Vite Plus that I don't know if we mentioned last week, but I caught from their presentation, is they're trying to create one config file that you use, because since Vite Plus will have roll down, but then also they'll have linting and formatting and bundling all under one umbrella. They're going to try to have one config file to rule them all, which this isn't like the first time we've heard this pitch. If you remember back, like the Roam tools tried to do this. There's some other approaches as this as well. But if they could pull it off, that would be quite cool, because I feel like all of our projects are littered with everything files for config. So
Yep. Well, and I was looking at their void.cloud site yesterday, which is their hosting thing. It's just void.cloud, which is a cool URL, by the way.
very cool URL, yeah.
But they have a little, I guess, tagline in there that they want to be able to do the config without you having to do the config. So I think it's the same kind of idea of they read your code base, they understand your configurations, and you don't have to have your Terraform file or your config file or your Netlify adapter file. They just know, and they just do it for you, which is, I think, every front end developer's like dream come true, not to have to deal with it at all.
Yeah, I just hope they find a way to make money off something. Maybe it's this Void thing because they're pumping out good stuff, and I mean I think it's in our best interest that they keep funded so that they can keep doing it.
Yeah,
they're pumping out stuff fast. That's for sure. I mean, I guess the one little bit that I saw of that talk, it was like him being taken off guard by like, oh wow, the AI package didn't, we didn't use the right code or whatever, and it's pretty clear that it would all been just written by Claude at 8 a.m. and nobody, 3 a.m. and nobody reviewed it, and it was like, that's not great, because I've definitely been there myself, but like you have to check, man. You have to like look at the code and stuff. So I just wonder. And this is not just isolated to VoidZero, but all many companies and projects nowadays. It's just like people are moving almost too fast, like with Claude.
Well, we one trap that being a part of a lot of different DevRel teams, one trap that it's very easy to get into at a company like this is what we call conference-driven development, where you have a keynote slot, and so all that ends up driving your roadmap, whether you're ready or not, because you're going to have a lot of eyeballs. Podcasts like Front End Fire are going to cover your news, and so because of that, you want to be able to talk about the new cool thing that you're working on. And sometimes that is a good idea, but sometimes that also can lead you to push things ahead that maybe aren't quite ready. And maybe that's what happened here. Because also, if you go to void.cloud, there's really nothing there at the moment. All you can do is sign up to be notified at a later date. There's no docs. There's nothing to try. There's nothing. So I just get the sense they had this date on the calendar. They've been working on it, and they just wanted to talk about it, and they did. And it does sound sort of exciting, but not the sort of thing that's ready in any capacity or will be anytime soon.
Yeah.
Cool, though. All right. Moving on from Vite, Jack, we have some double Netlify news, I believe.
Yeah. So it's finally gone official that I joined Netlify. I actually did it like 3 months ago, but for whatever reason. Yeah, yay. It's been great. There is a fantastic company. And my first gig, so I'm a principal DevRel, which is the first time I've ever done the DevRel thing, which is kind of cool. And then my first job there was to work on this Netlify Start feature, which is fantastic. So basically the idea is you log in to Netlify, you don't even have to have a project. You can just go over to the project panel. There's a text box there where you just go and type in whatever it is you want, and we do the AI app builder thing with either Claude or Gemini or Codex. And the really cool thing for folks who are listening to Friend and Fire and are fans of Tanstack is that we actually build Tanstack apps. So yay! And then we deploy them, and so it's also free, which is another thing that folks should like. Free in the sense of like that we give you some initial credits, and you can just try it out. And it should be enough to go and build like a simple app, and then maybe make some additional what we call agent runs to go and continue on and do more changes. But it's a very cool feature. Glad to have it out. And yeah, definitely looking forward to doing some other cool stuff. And the nice thing about Netlify in this case is that it's actually, I do halftime between Netlify and Tanstack. So half the week is doing Tanstack stuff on Start or on AI or whatever. So we're making some good progress over there too. So it's good to see them kind of like they're really in the corner with Tanstack.
So since this is named Netlify Start, I imagine is the intended workflow. I have a project idea. So I go into Netlify, go into Netlify Start, and I describe my project or whatever.
Yeah.
I let the AI sort of spin it up, let it deploy it to Netlify. And then if I like it, presumably then I could push it to GitHub or whatever and then bring it down locally and continue to work on it. I imagine it's not intended to be like a tool that you use for constant development, right? It's just
actually,
like a
no.
bootstrap or
No. You can do that. You don't have to pull it down. I mean, you can if you want to, and you can do that kind of workflow. But you can also use this agent runners. The underlying thing is that we've had this agent runners thing since October, and it's basically if you have a site on there, and we know your GitHub, you can just basically run Claude code or whatever hosted on Netlify, running on Netlify, and then change your code, deploy that to a preview build, deploy that out for real. And this is the actual internal name for this was Start with Agent Runners. So it's basically just like instead of having to have an initial project to make that happen, now we actually give you the ability to even make the initial project, right? And then from there, you can go and make additional like changes. And it's cool because it's multi-user. Like, you can have, if it's like a marketing site, your marketer can go in and say, hey, I want to go and change the color scheme here or whatever. And they can just ask and it just happens. And then it goes into a preview build because we support those. And then you shoot around the preview build and be like, okay, that's cool. I'll shoot it into prod and hit the prod button. And then it just goes into prod. And there you go. And you're like, hey, that's cool. Nice. Yeah. So it's a really slick workflow.
I'll have to try it because I have a number of things deployed to Netlify, including n-fire.com.
There you go.
So
nice.
So I might have to try just firing off some things for the agent to do. And I do like Netlify is the preview build infrastructure is quite good. And that's one of the reasons why I like Netlify. So it fits quite nicely into this. And I'll have to toy with this.
And it knows about all our internal primitives, things like DB and stuff like that. So, our key value store, all that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Awesome. All right. Well, my news this week is related to Node. So Node.js is changing their release cadence. And Node has a very, I guess, like kind of unique release structure. And for those of you that aren't familiar, basically for the last 10 years, Node has had this system where every other major release is designated as an LTS release, where LTS is long-term support, and then the Node team commits to keeping those releases, bug-free. They'll patch them for up to 30 months after the release. So to give you an example, if you go to the Node.js website right now, let's say you're a new computer or a new developer or whatever, you'll see that you can download either 24.14.0, which is the latest LTS, or 25.8.1 as we record this, which is the, quote, latest release. So that's the model that exists today. That is the model that is changing. And essentially the change is that they're switching to just make every release eventually be an LTS release. So instead of doing this thing where every other release is LTS, they've said that the reasons they're doing this are first that people found the odd even numbering thing kind of confusing. Was one big reason, especially for newcomers. They're like, why do I have this LTS thing? But that's also not the newest. Which one do I actually want to use? Their second reason is that people just didn't use the odd numbered ones. And I know that I'm guilty of that. Whenever I'm using anything, especially for production, I'm always just going to pick the latest LTS and use that in my project. Yeah. And it turns out that's what most people also do as well. And then the last reason is maintainability. So by having this every other version thing for the people actually working on Node, it gets very confusing in terms of how you backport fixes and such to make sure you backport only to the LTS ones and how branch management works and all of that. And so essentially they're just simplifying all of this. And so they said that this will be changing with Node 27. So Node 27 will be the first odd number release that will go to an LTS. And if you typically just run the latest Node LTS releases, all that's going to change for you is that you can now use odd version numbers. That's really the only thing that's actually going to change for you. So they're still going to do the one release a year, but it's just that all of them will now be LTS. and they'll announce them when they do. They said they'll mark the new ones every October. And then they're also doing the Apple thing where they're aligning with the year numbers as well. So Node 27 is coming out in 2027, and then Node 28 will come out in 2028, and they're just going to stick to that year cadence moving forward as well.
And in more news, Apple has acquired Node. Now, it's interesting to see that they're actually using that Apple. If other folks will do that.
I guess it makes sense. It's such a unique time that we're in where we've just crossed into single or double digit numbers again in terms of the calendar year. So yeah, I mean, if technology is kind of trending in that direction anyway in terms of versioning, why not align it with the year? Makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah, it does make some sense. Like ECMAScript does this too. There's years in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just nice because at a glance, you don't have to look up. You don't have to go to like some outdated Wikipedia page and go like, how old is this node? Like, is this concerningly old or not? It's like, no, it's Node 2016. It's time to upgrade.
Yeah.
Or you can just
I can, like early in my development career, I remember being on the wrong version of Node. I think like we had put our production version on, I don't know, Node 9 or something like that. And because nobody at that time on my team anyway was aware that one was LTS and one was not. So, it was running in production on 9. And that caused issues because we were doing development in 10 or 12 at that point. Yeah, it was. But I mean, the fact that also that the hosting company or the hosting provider didn't force us into an even numbered version is kind of, why didn't they, is the question as well. But at the same time, yeah, it just makes it more confusing for everybody, especially people who are newer to the development scene and may not just know the idiosyncrasies of Node.
Yeah, or maybe the host should just warn at the very least, like, are you sure you know what you're doing, sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, apparently I don't know what I'm doing because the first time I ever got burned by this was just recently. In fact, just literally last week when I was working on some stuff for Tansec AI, and it turns out that I was using isolated VM, which is this node module that allows you to run like a sandbox for JS, and it's not compatible with 25. And I was just running on 25 because I tend, because I'm doing videos and stuff, to just like, I'm going to be demoing the most recent version or whatever.
Yeah, what's the biggest number?
Never stung me before. But now it's like, oh, wait, okay, hold on. We actually changed like the way that we're doing this like internal extension format. Now we're moving over to Abby, and it's just not compatible. So I just had to bounce back to 24, which is fine. But it's like, okay.
Yeah, and we actually copied at Blues. We have developer APIs, and we copied this model. And so I can tell you firsthand that it's also confusing on the maintainability side of things as well, because people ask questions. Like there are people that don't know what LTS means. Right. Everybody comes from different backgrounds at different times. And so the more you can do to simplify your approach, you don't want people arriving at your homepage, looking at the download button and getting confused. That's not the point where you want that to happen. You just want it to keep things straightforward and to go. And so I think this is a smart move from them and should make this just clear for new users moving forward.
Yeah, like I remember in the past trying to figure out which Linux download I needed for, a Red Hat or an Ubuntu or something like that, and just trying to figure out what am I looking at and which one does my computer need as a person who doesn't typically use Linux is awful. So simplify it.
Terrible.
Help us out.
Yeah. It's the chip, and then it's also like the if you're running in a container, it's the container type. Oh, it's
right.
An absolute mess.
Do I need to yum install this? Do I need wget like apt? I don't know.
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Fun times.
That's what we have Claude for. That is a good reason to use Claude. Is it like, really good?
Oh man,
that's oh my God, figure that stuff out. Because
I think like we will talk about The fun stories we'll tell is that'll be our old man on porch type stories. Doing stuff like that before AI
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
brutal.
Back
Having
in
to
the
figure it
day.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I know we have some fun lightning news, so we can keep the fun rolling here.
Let's do it.
All right, I'll take the first one, and then we got two different Twitter things that we'll talk about. But the first one is this headline that I saw that I thought is absolutely amazing. So the headline is just 4 words: quote, "The dictionary sues OpenAI," and the story here is that Encyclopedia Britannica and Merriam-Webster have filed a lawsuit against OpenAI, alleging in its complaint that the AI giant has committed, quote, "massive copyright infringement." The idea here is that they're not suing about the dictionary part of it, so the headline's a little bit misleading, kind of, but Britannica, which owns Merriam-Webster, has like hundreds of thousands of online articles about different things related to dictionary-related things. And their claim is that OpenAI's LLM, of course, scooped all of that up without permission. And this article notes that Britannica joins a number of other publishers and writers pursuing legal action against OpenAI. And it lists off the New York Times, Mashable, CNET, IGN, PC Magazine, and dozens of newspapers, including the Chicago Tribune, the Denver Post, Sunset and Toronto Star, et cetera, have all sued OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
And we still don't know how these cases are going to sort of play out. We've only had one case that's had a very notable judgment. So Anthropic had a case that the judge basically ruled that LLMs, basically that the use of this text was fair use by LLMs in that one specific case for Anthropic that was against a handful of writers that brought that suit against them. But this is the sort of thing that's almost certainly going to be in the news for the next decade or two, probably going to eventually make its way to the Supreme Court. But I just thought it was fun that apparently now even the dictionary is suing these AI companies.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely understand where they're coming from, and I sympathize with them. But at the same time, what can you do now is kind of the question. It's already been done.
Yeah, the barn door, and
Apparently,
all that. Yeah.
Apparently, what you can do is lawyer up and try to get a settlement out of the
out of the big company that's got billions of dollars. Exactly.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The company that's raised bajillion dollars. Yeah.
I know. The only people who win here are the lawyers. That's the real bottom line.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, my mom and my wife just got a check from one of those class action lawsuits, and it was like $38. I'm like,
oh yeah,
okay.
I've gotten a couple of
wow.
those. It's great. I mean,
Well, yeah,
I do nothing except like put my name in and say I'm part of it, and then I get a check, 6 months later that I forgot about for $15.
But I can guarantee the legal crew ain't getting $38. They're getting a whole lot more than that. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Jack, you want to cover the Vercel Cloudflare, the latest in that whole saga?
Okay, so here's the deal. So we had the VI next thing, which is kind of like poking the bear when it comes to Vercel. So this is like Cloudflare goes off and says, "Hey, we're going to rewrite next over a weekend," and they very purposely like emphasize the over a weekend thing, which I get. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure is true. Giving Claude an existing look at it, like an existing system, and saying like, go and replace that or whatever, recreate that. It's going to take like a weekend. It's fine, so it'll be fast. But anyway, it was kind of a poke in the eye to Vercel. Obviously, Guillermo was not happy about this. And the next time any kind of Cloudflare something happened was that they forked Just Bash, which is a cool little library, actually. It's basically like it's Just Bash. So you bring in this library, and then it gives you essentially like bash commands that you can run in TypeScript and all that. And it's cool, so it's great. But they forked it, and Guillermo went on Twitter and just went off on them about how they shouldn't have forked it and all this kind of thing. And then actually Cloudflare punched back, which I thought was, I don't know, a little weird. But so it kind of got down in the mud between these two multi-billion-dollar companies and some of their executives. And I don't know, that's not really a great look, I gotta say. I mean, it's very 2026 that we have, executives rolling around the mud, but like, I don't know, man. Like, neither company came out looking particularly good out of that one.
I think this is just the absolute start of all of this, because in an AI world where it used to be that if you wanted to fork a major offering that was out there, the open source that was out there, you would need to dedicate a team and budget and time and resources. And now the fact that you can just put a weekend behind it, and if you're a Cloudflare, you can do it and then just say, we have the infrastructure to support something like this. So if it gets functioning, we can put it on our hosting ecosystem and such. And there is lots of money on the line for this sort of thing, because this is still Vercel. I mean, Vercel has their hosting, but a lot of that is made possible because of their control of Next.js.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so you can see why Guillermo's motivated to fight back on this, because it directly controls his baby, his company. But we're just going to see a lot more of this, like especially in situations where people are frustrated with whatever it is the tool is. Like we've talked about this with WordPress before, right? Like we talked a long time last year about all the drama with WordPress and people getting frustrated with WordPress. But at the end of the day, nothing came of that because it's so hard to actually fork WordPress.
Or is it? Dun dun dun.
Or is it, right? So yeah. I think we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see more of this. And but you're right. It's like of course it just devolves into just straight up basically name calling.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that irks me the most at this point, is like, it's so tiring seeing these people who have so much money and so much power and so much notoriety already getting upset that somebody is copying their idea or trying to improve on it or take away some market share. It's like, you have more money than you'll ever be able to spend. You have built a company that is incredibly profitable and powerful and hosts a lot of the ecosystem. Why do you care so much that they're forking this thing or they're doing that? It's not going to affect your bottom line that much. And you just look like a child just throwing a tantrum online. God.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the more professional way of dealing with this is you create content about the downsides of forks, because there's some very significant downsides of this. Security is one of them, where Vercel has a very legit argument. Obviously, if you're vibe coding something, it's harder to find security vulnerabilities than a framework that's been out there for years. I don't know. There's other reasons why it's harder when there's multiple forks. Then you have competing standards that will make it harder for the next big thing. There's just reasons that could be the path you take, where you just talk about why Next is still the thing you want to be doing, instead of just attacking the people doing this. But
yeah.
Okay, so the inside baseball, like is a little interesting on this, because like Next.js, there's the React to Shell thing, right? Which is actually a vulnerability in React. It's not necessarily a vulnerability in Next.js. Next.js uses React's built-in server functions, and those server functions use the flight data, and the flight data is vulnerable, right? And they haven't actually changed that, as far as I know. They've basically gone and done this like sanitization thing. So either Next or the provider that the Next instance is running on is doing that sanitization, so that by the time it gets to React, it won't get to React if it's got the nasty injection issues in it. But that was one of the things that Guillermo was talking about, was like I guess they didn't do that with their version of VI Next. And so it had those vulnerabilities. It was kind of interesting because it like shows like a weakness in Next.js, kind of basically, and React. Because if you naively implement these server functions, you're going to have those vulnerabilities, even today, right? Which is, so it's in a way like the forking is also reputational damage to the whole brand. It's just wild, But yeah. Anyway, don't use Next server function, or don't use the React server functions, I guess, at the end of the day. If you can get
really like to know by a percentage how many people are actually using them, how many apps are really using them, because I bet we would be surprised by how few are actually doing this. I think a lot of people, once the React server components came in, were just threw up their hands and said, "This is it. I'm done. I don't want to continue to play this
Well,
game."
it's not even
unfortunately, I think
server
it's
components. It's just this specific feature of it that exposes this. So it's even more limited than that, which means it's probably even fewer people know this even exists, really.
but a lot of people have it. And the reason is because like VoidZero builds Next.js sites on the app router. And whether you use server functions or not, the app router actually will handle server function requests. And that's why we're seeing a lot of this stuff, is because you can go out and you can just like take a bot and literally just hit like the slash route on every single page, on every single site that you encounter. And if it comes back with a certain signature, you know that that site is a Next.js app router site and was done by like, I don't know, VoidZero or Lovable or whatever, or I don't know, all the ones that create app router sites. And it's and if it's on an old version, it's vulnerable, and you can get in and start like installing OpenClaw or whatever people are doing with React to Shell. But it is crazy easy to go and hit these sites. They're incredibly vulnerable. So yeah. I could.
All right. I got one more tweet for you that I just want to read for you here real quick and get your reaction. I'll just go for it. So this is Sam Altman, CEO OpenAI. Quote, "I have so much gratitude to people who wrote extremely complex software character by character. It already feels difficult to remember how much effort it really took. Thank you for getting us to this point."
Oh, that's nice.
Can't tell if it's nice or if it is just a massive dunk on everybody who is a developer. It makes me so angry, honestly.
It actually makes me angry as well, because it, like, at first I thought like, oh, because we've talked before about how Ryan Dahl had tweeted out the end of humans writing software or whatever was over. And that one I thought was more poignant and actually, but this one is just borderline cruel, very dismissive for sure of everything that went into this. And I think it's more than anything just tone deaf, because he also knows that there's an army. Most of the people that are following his tweets and such are tech people, lots of software people, and also tech people that choose between OpenAI tools and Claude-based tools and XAI tools and whatnot out there. And yeah, it just felt like I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily entirely wrong. We've talked before on this podcast how very few of us are handwriting code of any significance at this point, but it very much trivializes, the history of software development.
And it trivializes all of the data that all of his models have been trained on.
Yeah,
they are
that's true.
only
Yeah,
this
that too.
good
Yeah.
because of these people, because of us writing this code by hand all these years.
Yeah, I it's weird. I had this like feeling like a week ago of like, oh wow, man, how long would it take me to have written this by hand? And it would have taken a while. And yeah, and then he comes out with this tweet, and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Actually, it does feel like really weird that nowadays it's hard to even look back on those times and be like, wow, I used to do that. Like,
Yeah. I mean, besides like reviewing code and telling the AI to change things because they don't match or they don't work correctly when you're testing it, like how much are you guys actually writing code versus just directing Claude or Codex or Cursor or what have you to do it for you?
I'd say if I had to put a number to it, I'd say AI is probably writing somewhere between 80 and 90% of my code. The little bit I write is just little things here or there, because sometimes I still, like, if I know I have to make a small change, sometimes it feels nice to go in there and not tell.
Yeah, flex your
Right.
muscle for a minute.
Yeah. Well, it's
That's
like if I know
exactly it.
exactly what needs to happen, that's one thing, and I can probably actually still do it faster than the AI can. But for anything moderately complex, like I always let AI take the first stab at it, even if I'm going to go in and tweak some things from there, just because it's faster and it turns out better at the end of the day. So, like I said, the idea behind what he's tweeting out here isn't really off. It's just the sentiment that I think is rubbing people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
how about you, Paige? What's your percentage?
I would say, yeah, it's right up there, especially because I joined a new company about a month ago, so I'm still trying to get up to speed with our code base and all the intricacies because it's interesting. We're based on Gitee, which is an open source version of GitHub.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the thing that makes it different is that instead of doing software version management and version control, we're doing it for hardware. So we handle schematics and PCBs and all this stuff that is specific to hardware and electrical engineers. So that's it was a good starting point, but now we've veered in a kind of wildly different direction than what Gitee was originally built for. But trying to understand for me, like what is Gitee code versus what is our code, and where is that dividing line, or where are those dividing lines, is difficult. It's a very big, complex Go-based software, open source software with like front end stuff that some of it's written in Vue, some of it's written in Go templates. There's like jQuery still in there in spots.
Really?
It's wild. Like it's so complicated. But all that to say that it would take me so much longer to get even semi-proficient in what all is happening, just because of the size and complexity of this code base without Claude to be able to go in and look through all this stuff and like help me connect the dots and, draw diagrams of our architecture and point out things that, you're changing this one thing here, but it actually is used across these other components or in these other places as well. So yeah, I am very much relying on agents at this point to help me make sure that what I am doing is the right way to do it for this code base, also doesn't negatively impact other pieces of it, like help me understand what are the conventions that we're trying to go forward using as opposed to old stuff that we don't want to modify or change. So yes, a lot of agent time is my daily workflow at this point.
I actually run Gitee at the house, so I'm somewhat weirdly familiar with it. So if it's like a thing,
of course you do, Jack.
I needed okay. So here's the deal. I wanted to have like I had a work laptop and a regular laptop, and I wanted to be able to go and take my ZSHRC files and blah 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 blah, and make sure that they were synchronized between the two. That kind of thing. Like whatever.
Sure.
And I didn't want to go and take all those files and put them up on GitHub in a private repo and have to deal with all that, whatever. And I had like a NAS, so I was like, okay, like let's fire up something, had Git locally, and yeah. And then I moved over to the studio, and yeah, it works. It's cool. I have like a little repository, like 5 or 6 projects. So if you have it left, let me know if it's actually like a decent code base under the hood. I have no idea. It works,
Yeah, I mean, no, it is a very good code base. Like it has all the functionality that you would expect from GitHub. And it has action runners. Yeah, it does all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just that our needs are diverging as hardware developers have very different software handling needs than software developers. Like schematics can be multiple pages or multiple hundreds of pages depending on the size of them. So that's kind of things that we're trying to deal with and trying to make better, are just specific to hardware engineers and electrical engineers as opposed to software. So it's really an interesting dichotomy from software development and the kind of world that we come from.
Cool stuff. All right. Well, our lightning news was a little more depressing than I was anticipating. So why don't we talk about what's making us happy?
Yeah.
All right, Jack, what's making you happy this week?
I haven't actually seen it yet, but I'm really looking forward to watching Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die with Sam Rockwell. I don't know why. A friend of mine said it was like super weird and fun, and I just love Sam Rockwell, so I'm really excited about that. And actually, when I'm getting back from this trip, there's another movie that I'm really excited about to go see, which is Project Hail Mary. We actually read the book on that one. and
Yeah.
super excited to go see that. It's got like 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's gonna be great. I love The Martian, so I feel like this is another like Martian class level movie, and I'm really excited.
Yeah, the Project Hail Mary, the book was very good, and
Yeah.
I was worried about when I first saw that they were making a movie out of it. It just seemed like it wouldn't work well in a movie, and so it's very cool to see it's getting good reviews, and I kind of want to see it now. Also, looks good.
And I love Gosling. Like, he's really turned into a great actor, and really just seemed like a nice guy.
Yeah, he also seems like the perfect person for this role. Like he's just, I don't know, at this age, he just seems like, I don't know, he just perfectly embodies like middle-aged science teacher, right? Like I can see it. It works.
Nice.
Paige, what's making you happy this week?
I am going to say that a nasal spray, which is the Afrin nasal spray, is making me happy this week. Because as I told Jack and TJ earlier this week, I came down with a head cold over the weekend, and it was a pretty gnarly one for me. Took me down for like 2 or 3 days of weekend, and then laying on the couch. So Afrin, if you're not familiar with it, is this great steroid-based nasal spray. I try to only use it at night because it is addictive, and if you use it for too many days in a row, then you get the rebound, like congestion and nose issues. But it really does open up your nasal passages, and at night when you're trying to sleep and just try and recover, that's critical. So for the last 3 or 4 days, up until last night, I was using it every night before bed, and just being able to sleep and breathe at the same time and not have to do the mouth breathing it's so much better. So if you are suffering either from a bad head cold or nasal, like maybe if you have bad allergies this time of year too, because we're into it in the South especially.
We are into it in the Northwest. I'm telling you, man. Like spring hit early.
Yeah.
And it is Pawn City. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you're in either of those situations and you just need some relief and want to breathe through your nose, try this stuff. It really, really works. Just beware, don't use it for too long at extended periods. So you might have some adverse side effects at the end.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when you're sick, drugging up before you go to bed, because just even though
sleep.
Yeah, because sometimes it's good to ride it out and let your body process things, but the value of having sleep when you're feeling bad is just so much. It's the last thing you need when you're sick is to also not sleep, and then spirals out of control.
You're already tired just from being sick because your body's trying to ward it off. But so being able to be sick and not sleep is just like, I can't think of anything worse.
Here in the Midwest, it's still a little too cold, so stuff hasn't started growing quite yet. So the allergy stuff has not been too bad yet. But unfortunately, I have children that, despite being 15, still like bring home colds like they're in kindergarten. I swear one of them just decides to still lick poles or something, because the kid is always the vector for all of this stuff. And he has been since he's been little. And so we just went through another round the last like 2 weeks of getting sick again, and I'm now recovered from it. But like, I don't know. I love my children, but it would be great if they could stop exposing me to a petri dish, essentially.
Poor guy.
But what is making me happy this week? I'm going to cheat and talk about 2 different things real quick. The first is the One Piece live action show on Netflix has its 2nd season, and we've been watching that, and it's a lot of fun. It's just what they do with special effects for that, because having watched a little bit of the One Piece anime, which is, that thing is a
that's commitment. That's a life
running thing.
Yeah.
So I've never fully committed to that, but I'm at least vaguely familiar with the manga and the anime and whatnot. And I never would have picked it out as a show that would have ever had any chance of working live action, just because the world is these people that all have completely random superpowers, essentially. That's the premise behind the world. There's these special fruits. If you eat them, you just basically roll the dice and you get some superpower, some crazy thing. And so the Netflix show that is just able to make that work in a live action way. So some of the fun of it is just seeing how they make that happen, the special effects needed to do it. And that's, I don't know, it's been a lot of fun to watch. We're a couple episodes into the second season, and it's been a fun time.
Nice. My husband was watching that earlier this week, and he said the same thing. Like, he couldn't do the anime. It was just too over the top for him, but he said the live action is actually like the right level.
Yeah, if you just want to be familiar, because there's One Piece memes and merch and stuff everywhere, and if you watch the show, it's just enough to sort of understand that. So I think that's in a way more digestible way. So.
And it seemed like one of those adaptations. I watched the first season, and it seemed like one of the adaptations that actually the fans seem to be okay with.
Mm-hmm.
Of the original
I've heard that
manga.
also.
Yeah.
Because we went back and watched the first few episodes of the anime after having watched the live action, and it really did capture the essence of it. It did a surprisingly good job. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to keep going with this. Obviously, there's no possible way they could ever catch up in any capacity with the actual show or the comic books. But I don't know. If they keep making them, I'll keep watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of bummed that they did the Cowboy Bebop one for just one. Was it just one season, or did they do 2 seasons and then they canceled it?
I think it was just one, and I liked that show.
I did too.
What's the problem? It's a good show.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought it was good.
Jeez. Yeah, I know the Cowboy Bebop fans are like, I'm like, okay, just lighten up, man. Like, It's a fun show just on its own. Relax.
And then the other thing making me happy is the college basketball tournament started yesterday as we record this. So I'm wearing my Michigan State hat. Both Michigan and Michigan State won yesterday. So at least for this episode, I can be happy. And we'll see if I'm still happy by the time we get to recording our next episode. But it's just a fun, I don't know. It's my favorite sporting event just because it's just chaos. It's a bunch of college kids that are nervous, and so anything can happen, and that's really the fun of sport at the end of the day. And if either one of my team wins or Duke loses, I'll be happy. That's basically what I root for.
So are the Canes in it? Do you know?
Miami? I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they were any good this year. Let me look it up though.
Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, no. We're in the first round. We go against the Missouri Tigers.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Shows you how much I follow things. I've been confused because also the Miami of Ohio is in the tournament as well.
Oh, yeah. That's, that Miami of Ohio, they need to just give it up. Just name yourself something else. Like, it's just too annoying. Like,
Yeah, my bracket's always bad because during the regular season, I typically only follow some Big Ten teams. So the broader picture, I just know like who the top teams are, but I don't really know much of anything. But that's actually kind of the cool thing about the tournament. You don't need to know anything. Like you can just show up and watch a game and see who the favorite is and who the underdog is. And there you go. That's all you need to know.
One more thing. I'll give one more thing make me happy this week. So I'm over at a friend's house right now, and they don't use AI much. And one of the things that I do when I'm here is I do little like handyman type chore stuff, whatever. And they wanted to put up a dartboard, and I don't really know much about dartboards, and nor do they. They just like playing darts. And so it was a question of like, what dartboard do we get, and where do we get it, and what's a good dartboard versus a bad dartboard. Claude, oh my God. I put it into like research mode, had to go and like look at dartboards and all that. And it gave me like a breakdown or he gave us like a breakdown of everything. And they never experienced that level of AI before. And they're like, oh, wow. Okay. I kind of
nice.
Get it now, And I was like, yeah, it's actually not bad. Like, put the TikTok thing down for a second and it's actually pretty cool.
Have either of you tried Claude Cowork? Because I've been reading about that for people who are not technical like us, but are using AI and have had some really good success with it for like scheduling college visits on a 3-day weekend trip or cleaning out their LinkedIn contacts, like figuring out who do I actually know versus who did I just accept as a random LinkedIn profile, years ago. So I was curious because I haven't. But it's
lots of
as best I understand, it is Claude Code, but just kind of wrapped up by Microsoft and just put into like a more user-friendly app for non-code things, basically. So I've not tried it, but I think we'd get the same results as we would get just running things through Claude Code. I don't know exactly what the integration story is there either.
Yeah, I'm not terribly familiar with it. I think you use it through Claude Desktop, but I'm really not familiar. It sounds like it's more of not necessarily an autonomous agent, but more proactive. Like you can set it on tasks like this and it will figure out how to do things for you if you want it to, or it will look through things.
We all have Claude Desktop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's use it. Let's do an experiment. Like try and run part of I don't know,
But is Claude Cowork Claude Desktop? Because I don't think it is. I think it's something separate. I think it's Microsoft's latest thing.
I'm looking at my Claude Desktop right now, and it's the top has tabs: Chat, Cowork, and Code.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
You might need a certain level of Claude subscription.
Okay. I'm on the max plan.
Yeah, I
think I'm opening up my Claude. Oh, I got a Cowork tab. So
there you go.
All right. So for next episode, we're gonna figure this out and experiment with it at least a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
do you have a page?
Yes, I do.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
Yeah, I can try so it says for me, Cowork is in research preview, but I can try it for free for 3 days.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, there you go.
All right. We'll plan some trips. I don't know. It's basically a recurring segment of this podcast is what like real life AI problems has AI helped us solve. So this will fit nicely in with that. All right. But I think that is our episode this week. So thanks everybody again for joining us. I want to end just as always by thanking our sponsor, the Blue Collar Coder. You can check out the Blue Collar Coder channel on YouTube. We also have our Discord, the Blue Collar Coder Discord. You can join that. The link for that is in the show notes. We talk about stuff that we talk about on this show and more. It's kind of fun if you want to hang out with us. We also have links to all our socials if you want to follow us there. As always, we appreciate reviews on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform of choice. 5 stars or whatever always works out quite well for us. But I think that is our episode for this week. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yep.
See you next time.
See you then.